Stakeholder Engagement Team within the Funding Directorate of ESFA. I'm going to be talking to you about DSG management plans this afternoon. Okay, so the conditions of grant 2023 to 2024 requires that any local authority with an overall deficit on its DSG account at the end of the 2022 to 2023 financial year, or whose DSG surplus has substantially reduced during the year, must be able to present a plan to the department for managing their future DSG spend. However, all local authorities should have a plan in place to manage their high needs budgets, whether they're in deficit or not. If your surplus decreases substantially, we'll be in touch asking you to meet us. The section of the conditions of grant I just referred to came into effect for the 2021 financial year, and to support local authorities in forming a plan, we developed the DSG management plan template. The template was developed alongside local authority representatives, as well as internal teams from funding, SEND and children's services, and was published in September 2020, along with a comprehensive guidance document. Since then, it's been updated using feedback from users, with version 6 being published in May this year. It is governed by accessibility rules, so numbers and narrative generally appear on separate tabs as a result, but it is possible to add tabs into the template if you wish to build your own summaries and models which are better suited to your specific stakeholders' needs. And the template can be downloaded from Document Exchange, and supporting guidance can be found on the Management Plan gov.uk page. The department currently has 3 main programmes to support local authorities in their efforts to improve delivery of SEND services while maintaining financial sustainability. The Safety Valve programme involves a smaller number of local authorities with the largest deficits. The Delivering Better Value in SEND, or DBV programme, is now supporting 51 local authorities with less severe deficits, and the ESFA support programme provides support for the remaining local authorities. Local authorities involved in Safety Valve discussions or the DBV programme should use the management plan template to submit their plans to the department. However, we do encourage all local authorities to use it because it comprehensively covers the features and the level of detail we'd expect to see in any management plan. We recognise that implementing initiatives, reconfiguring provision and bringing spend in line with income and repaying deficits will take time for some local authorities. A management plan should be a useful live document which is updated regularly to monitor pressures, risks, the impact of initiatives, how DSG funding is being spent, and so on. It should reflect the most current forecast DSG position and high needs block position. We expect at least a summary of your plan to be presented to your schools forum and local authority leaders regularly and published on your local authority's website. Local authorities should certainly present their plan to schools forum ahead of budget planning discussions and the deadline for block movement requests if submitting one. The department is identifying good practice through its 3 programmes and through case studies. Just to be clear, good practice can be identified in any local authority. There are local authorities in deficit that are doing good work to become more financially sustainable and improve high needs systems and outcomes for children and young people we send. The slide you can see shows some of the reoccurring themes, but it is in no way a comprehensive list. So local authorities are most successful in producing and delivering plans to make their high needs systems sustainable and effective, where strong prioritisation and collaboration across the local authority leadership is demonstrated. And we expect chief executives of local authorities to be fully engaged with the DSG. Effective support for children and young people we send often relies heavily on join up across professions. Local authorities should seek to achieve this across their SEND services, finance and capital functions. Building and maintaining good relations with schools forum, particularly when making decisions on block movements. Reporting to the schools forum and the use of high needs working groups has enabled greater transparency and stakeholders' understanding of issues. Mainstream schools need to be clear how they contribute to the local offer. Local authorities must define ordinarily available provision so that schools and parents are clear about expectations and there is a shared understanding and consistency across the local authority. When key decisions are taken, those impacted should be consulted and included. This must include parents, carers, children and young people. Parental engagement is fundamental in building trust in SEND systems. Local authorities should do this in a way which ensures that parents feel involved in the process and have a sense of co-ownership. Co-production with parents and young people will ensure that local experiences can be captured and addressed in the bigger picture aims of the DSG management plan and its implementation. Local authorities should review their joint commissioning arrangements with health and social care to ensure there is a shared understanding of how different types of needs are best met and placements are appropriately funded. Working with other local authorities to share ideas and good practice and work on joint commissioning of places. What we'd expect to see in a management plan. The ESFA template covers everything we'd expect to see in a management plan. It pulls through data you have already submitted in section 251 and SEND 2 returns and does a lot of calculations for you, which helps with identifying trends. It also allows you to add tabs so you can include additional modelling and narrative that suits your authority's needs. If your local authority is not using the management plan template, we'd still encourage using it for reference to ensure your own plan contains the following parts. I'll go into these in more detail over the next few slides. So first of all, we'd expect to see evidence that SEND and finance teams has developed the management plan together. Pupil needs feed into data and that feeds into the forecasts and finances. It's important there is a good understanding of each other's areas, including processes and limitations, and there's consistency across the local authority. Data. Good data is vital as a foundation on which to build robust plans and make evidence-based decisions. If data isn't where it should be, your local authority should prioritise improving data and systems. I'll go into data a bit more on the coming slides, but generally, we'd expect to see mitigated and unmitigated forecasts for at least 3 years. We are realistic. We understand that local authorities need to ensure the right provision for their children and young people, so we're not expecting a surplus in a short time. But we do want local authorities to plan to meet needs in more sustainable ways. Aim for a balanced budget in year initially. Figures should be accompanied by narrative to explain any trends, how projected numbers have been calculated, assumptions that have been made and why. We encourage the use of benchmarking data to help understand the local authority's position. And we expect to see consistent information across related reports and returns such as SEND 2, Section 251 and SCAP. We would expect to see actual EHCP numbers along with forecasts for at least the next 3 years. Including both mitigated and unmitigated figures will enable you to show the impact of initiatives. Local authorities should know their children and young people we send and should model them moving through the system, not just show a flat increase in EHCPs per year. You may also wish to break data down by provision type to help with future place planning. On the template, EHCP numbers can be added for each provision type. Then these pull through to the CYP tab to give the overall picture. There are narrative boxes on the LA specific tab to explain how figures have been reached. And at the request of users, there are also tables to record numbers of children and young people who are receiving support from the high needs block but don't have an EHC plan. Growth in EHCPs is a main driver of costs in many local authorities, so a management plan should include any strategies a local authority is using to manage growth in demand. So, for example, early intervention to reduce escalation of need and investment in appropriate support prior to applying for a plan. Work with schools on how best to meet children's needs, and possibly without the need for statutory provision. Work with schools to jointly define ordinarily available provision and processes to make sure this is adhered to. Engaging with schools to build awareness of the LA situation and DSG management plan and build collective responsibility. Engaging with parents to understand needs, which will help with local planning. Building parental understanding of the local offer and confidence in the local offer. Reviewing EHCP assessment processes to ensure robust decision making. Reviewing plans annually to ensure they are still fit for purpose or still necessary, and ending plans if appropriate. Reviewing staffing levels and structures and skills for SEND casework. And focusing on pathways into employment, training and independence during post-16 EHC assessments and reviews. In your management plan, we would expect to see details of the key pressures your local authority is facing and the impacts of those on finances and EHCPs. The template contains space for these on the Executive Summary tab. Narrative should be provided to support any figures, and on the template this can be added on the LA specific tab or on the placements tabs. A key area of a management plan is the strategies you are putting in place. Any strategies and actions should be driven by data and evidence. Your strategies should be costed, and the impact of strategies on finances and EHCP should be forecast where possible. However, we do appreciate this can be difficult for some strategies, such as improving parental confidence. For each strategy, we'd expect narrative around how and when this is going to be implemented and what the desired outcomes are. If it's a work stream that's already in progress, we'd expect narrative around how it's going. Are there any delays or issues, and the actual impact or savings realised. On the template, as with pressures, there is space on the executive summary tab to input this information. In a management plan, we would expect details of your sufficiency plan, work around pupil-placed planning and commissioning arrangements. You should include detail of how capital funding has been used or how you plan to use it and the impact of this. If appropriate, we'd like to know how you are increasing capacity and provision across your borough. We'd also like to know how you are ensuring quality across your provision. As I mentioned under good practice, engagement with stakeholders is key to the success of a management plan. There needs to be a sense of collective responsibility and a culture of partnership with stakeholders, which comes from effective engagement, continuity of leadership and development of trust. This can take time, but it will be more difficult for local authorities to implement changes if those affected and involved are not on board. A management plan should include detail on how the local authority is engaging with its various stakeholders and what impact this will have or is already having. On the template, there's a dedicated tab to input narrative around stakeholder engagement. Your management plan should include any risks to its implementation and any mitigating actions you are taking or could take. This is some of the reviews we will carry out when we receive a local authority's management plan. The reviews are carried out by ESFA, SEND advisors and local authority case leads. Just to note, this is not a comprehensive list and it will differ depending on what programme the local authority is participating in, whether that's Safety Valve, DBV or ESFA support. So we'll look to see if there's clear narrative around the initiatives and a clear link to the impact on outcomes for young people, EHCPs and finances. We receive some plans that are really good on finances, but not the corresponding SEND narrative and vice versa, where they are good initiatives, but these are not reflected in the figures. This is where it's really important that SEND and finance teams come together. We expect to see clear deliverable initiatives and their impact reflected on EHCPs and corresponding finances. We'll look to see if there's correlation between data and finances, and if not, has this been explained in the narrative? So, for example, a 5% increase in EHCPs with a drop in related expenditure, unless there's a clear initiative or link to it. Have risks and assumptions been clearly laid out? Regarding EHCP numbers and provision, have past trends been used, or is there a detailed analysis of children's current and future needs? We will look at whether the plan reaches an in-year balance. Just to note, where safety valve agreements have been reached, local authorities have reconfigured high needs provision to reach an in-year balance position within an allocated timescale. We will check that the local authority has used pre-recoupment published DSG allocation data. We will check that DSG is being used in line with regulations and the conditions of grant, in particular whether inappropriate spend has been charged to the DSG, such as educational psychologists, assessments or increases in transport costs. To note, it is ultimately the local authorities and the Section 151 officers' responsibility to ensure compliance. Local authorities should take the opportunity to check the headings and descriptions of budget lines to show what money is being used for and that it's okay in the regulations. And we'll use benchmarking data to see if the local authority is an outlier for numbers or spend. And we encourage the use of benchmarking data to help understand the local authority's position. We publish a high needs benchmarking tool which allows local authorities to compare data with other local authorities, statistical neighbours and national figures. The use of benchmarking data can help local authorities identify where they might be an outlier and highlight areas where they may wish to review provision and spending. The tool uses published SEND2 data. The chart on the slide shows numbers of pupils with EHCPs in different types of provision. The tool also used published Section 251 data. The chart on this slide shows outturn spend per head for categories including top-up funding, SEND support and inclusion and AP. The tool is available to download from gov.uk. The slide previously had the link to that. And just to add, we are updating the High Needs benchmarking tool at the moment and hoping to publish that before the end of this month. This slide contains links to resources that local authorities might find useful. The newsletter section of the DBV website has some of the initiatives participating local authorities are implementing. Management plans for block movement requests. For any local authority that's proposing a block movement, we would expect to see updated management plans alongside the disapplication request. You must include detail around what the transferred funds will be used for and how this will reduce pressure on the high needs block. Requests that look to be just plugging a gap will not be approved. Just a reminder that the deadline for local authorities to submit a block movement disapplication request is the 17th of November. Further information about management plans can be found on gov.uk. If you have any questions regarding the template or guidance, or if you require any support, then please contact the Financial Management mailbox. The email address is there on the slide. If there's any local authorities not involved in Safety Valve or DBV, would like to discuss their management plan with us, they can also use this email address to contact us.